at that time, thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book.
The golden morning is fast approaching. Jesus soon will come to take his faithful and happy children to their promised home. Oh, we see the gleams of the golden morning piercing through this night of gloom. Oh, we see the gleams of the golden morning that will burst the tomb. The gospel summons will soon be carried to the nations round. The bridegroom then will cease to tarry, and the trumpet sound. Oh, we see the gleams of the golden morning piercing through this night of gloom. Oh, we see the gleams of the golden morning that will burst the tomb. Attended by all the shining angels down the flaming sky, the judge will come and will take his people where they will not die. Oh, we see the gleams of the golden morning piercing through this night of gloom. Oh, we see the gleams of the golden morning that will burst the tomb. There those loved ones who have long been parted will meet that day. The tears of those who are broken hearted will be wiped away. Oh, we see the gleams of the golden morning piercing through this night of gloom. Oh, we see the gleams of the golden morning that will burst.
And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Now, we see in this resurrection, two classes of people will be coming up. Whereas in the resurrection that I mentioned in Ezekiel chapter 37, only one class came up, the righteous prophets, Isaac and Jacob and all the prophets. But in this resurrection, two classes are coming up, wicked and righteous. When Christ comes the second time, only one class will be coming up, the righteous only. So the one in Ezekiel chapter 37 is different from this one. And it is also different from the one that takes place at Christ's second coming, quote unquote. I mentioned it is really his ninth coming. So we see here, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Now, who are these people who will be coming up in this resurrection? It says, and they that be wise. So some of them that be wise. So the one who will come up to everlasting life shall be wise. And they that be wise, that is the righteous ones, shall shine. Now they shall be shining. So therefore we see, why will they be shining? Do you know why they will be shining? Because Michael, the archangel, will be shining. He will be a shining angel. To them, he will be shining. They shall shine as the stars, as the firmament. They that turn many to righteousness. Notice carefully. Not only shall they shine, but they shall turn many to righteousness. So these people are coming up during probationary time. You remember, 2 weeks ago, our topic was the garment of salvation. And we understood that the garment of salvation will be the garment that Adam had. And you remember in Patriarchs and Prophets, let me just read it here, that the garment that Adam had was the garment of an angel. Let me just read that on page 45. It says, as man came forth, the Patriarchs and Prophets came forth from the Creator, he was of lofty stature and perfect symmetry. His countenance bore the ruddy tint of health and glowed with the light of life and joy. Adam's height was much greater than that of men who now inhabit the earth. Eve was somewhat less in stature, yet her form was noble and full of beauty. The sinless pair wore no artificial garments. They were clothed with a covering of light and glory, such as the angels wear. So now notice that. So therefore, when man was created in the beginning, he had a garment that was shining. See? And in Isaiah chapter 61, we are told that this garment is called the garment of salvation. It is called the robe of righteousness. You see? And we find in Isaiah chapter 62, when we have read Isaiah chapter 61, if you just flick back there quickly, you will see in Isaiah chapter 61, it shows you there, verse 10 says, I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my God. For he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness, as the bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as the bride adorneth herself with jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causeth the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Lord will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all nations. So then what will he do? He said, look, verse 1 of chapter 62, for Zion's sake will I not rest, will I not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake will I not rest until thy righteousness go forth as brightness, and as the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. Thou shalt also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of thy God. So now when we read, therefore, in Daniel chapter, just flipping back to that quickly there, when we read in Daniel chapter 12, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. This here is talking about a resurrected people who will be resurrected in a glorified state, and they will be shining with holy consecration, and they shall turn many to righteousness. Now, how can that be? Someone will say. Do you mean to say that there will be two groups of people? Some will be wicked and some will be righteous, who will come up before Christ comes the second time, and the righteous ones will go forth proclaiming the gospel, shining in holy consecration, and turn many to righteousness? So you mean to tell me that there will be dead people who will walk the face of this earth again and witness before people? Now, this is not the first time that such a thing has ever taken place. You remember that when Christ was resurrected, there was a company of people that were resurrected together with him. Now, let me just read that for you. If you turn to Matthew chapter 27, you will see that in the type. In other words, Matthew chapter 27 and verse 52 is the type of that which will happen in Daniel chapter 12, verses 3 and 4 there. Notice carefully. In Matthew chapter 27, after Christ resurrected from the grave, notice what it says. It says there, in verse 52 it says, I'll read from verse 51. From verse 50 it says, Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose. And look what happened in verse 53. And came out of the graves after his resurrection and went into the holy city. That's the holy city is Jerusalem. They went into Jerusalem and appeared unto many. Now when they appeared unto many, what did they do? Do you think that they just went like some ghost and appeared and said, "Huh, frighten the people"? No, no, no. Let me read you in Desire of Ages what the Spirit of Prophecy says concerning when Christ arose. Desire of Ages, page 786. When Christ arose, he brought from the grave a multitude of captives. The earth at his death had rent open their graves. And when he arose, they came forth with him. They were those who had been co-laborers with God. Now notice that carefully. And who at the cost of their lives had borne testimony to the truth. Now, they were to be witnesses for him who had been raised from the dead. They were to be witnesses for him. During his ministry, Jesus had raised the dead to life. He had raised the son of the widow of Nain and the ruler's daughter Lazarus. But these were not clothed with immortality. In other words, when Lazarus was resurrected, he died again. See? He was not resurrected with immortality. When he was resurrected, he had flesh and blood. See? But these, she says, she goes on here. After they were raised, they were still subject to death. That's like Lazarus and the widow son of Nain and so on. But those who came forth from the grave at Christ's resurrection were raised to everlasting life. They ascended with him as trophies of his victory over death and the grave. These, said Christ, are no longer the captives of Satan. I have redeemed them. I have brought them from the grave as the first fruits of my power to be with me where I am, nevermore to see death or experience sorrow. Hear what happened. These went into the city and appeared unto many, declaring, Christ has risen from the dead, and we be risen with him. Thus was immortalized the sacred truth of the resurrection. The risen saints bore witness to the truth of the words, thy dead men shall live together, with my dead body shall they arise. Their resurrection was an illustration of the prophecy, fulfillment of prophecy. Awake, sing, ye that dwell in the dust, for the dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead, and so on. So now, Christ took these people with him as trophies of his resurrection, and there we see them in the heavenly sanctuary. We see some of them, notice what I said, not all of them. We see some of them as 24 elders. In Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 8, Paul tells us, you read there in the margin of chapter 4 and verse 8, the margin tells you that when he resurrected, he carried with him a multitude of captives. A multitude. It was not just 24 elders. It was more than 24 elders. But the 24 elders were selected from among those who came with Christ. They were the select ones who were selected as jurors. You notice right now, there are jurors who are, see? So it's not only just 12 jurors you had and you couldn't have any more if one got sick. I'm not suggesting that any of the 24 elders will get sick. But those who went up with Christ, there were more than 24 elders. They have different functions in his ministry during the judgment, which is now taking place in heaven. But 24 of them are serving as jurors. The others are represented as 4 beasts. You notice the 4 beasts who are before the throne? In Revelation chapter 5 we see, and verse 8, those 4 beasts, together with the 24 elders, they are saying, thou hast redeemed us from the earth. So the 24 elders plus the 4 beasts represent those who went up with Christ. See? So some are jurors and some are defendants. Right? And when I say defendants, they represent the defendants. That's us, who will be brought before the judgment. So they are symbolized as 4 beasts. Okay? I hope that's understood. You can, if you listen to the tape that we did on the breaking of the 7 seals, that is explained more fully. You can also see the type for that in First Chronicles chapter 24, when David ordained the 24 elders.
Follow our studies at Solemn Thought Ministries on YouTube to learn more.